What if every brand in your category suddenly vanished overnight? I know, right? Probably not the best news when you actually stop and think about it. But here's the real question. Would anyone actually notice yours was missing? Not because you're bad at marketing. Quite the contrary, you're probably great at it. Competent, polished, professional, and let's face it, probably beige. Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. So if you're a B2B marketer listening to this right now, odds are you're exhausted by the crushing weight of competence. I mean, the reverse is probably also true, but let's save that discussion for a different bottle of wine. No, for the last couple of years, we've been living through what I'd call an era of automated professionalism. Generative AI hasn't just made content faster or cheaper, it's democratized competence. A two-person startup in a garage can now produce the same thought leadership with the same grammatical perfection, the same visual fidelity, and the same strategic confidence as a Fortune 500 enterprise. Which means we've hit the beige wall. And the beige wall isn't about creativity or the value of our ideas going to zero. No, it's worse than that. It's actually about the expression of ideas going to near zero cost. You see, the friction between any stray thought and a polished blog post or a white paper or a LinkedIn manifesto has basically evaporated. And when everyone can express anything effortlessly with the press of a few prompts, the value of an idea no longer accrues to the insight, the value it contains, it accrues to the attention it gets. Did it get your attention? Did it hold your attention? Is it actually valuable? What happens? Well, we all start defaulting for that fight for that holding and getting attention to the beige content, but we add all the sparkles and pyrotechnics to the provocative headline and cover and the paper that it's in and make it grab your attention. But it's that second part, the holding your attention, the value, it doesn't deliver on that so much. So the result is we don't get more original ideas, we get more output of the same ideas, all wrestling for that same sliver of attention that we package in sparkles and pyrotechnics. So when every brand sounds intelligent, articulate, and professional, those qualities, well, they unfortunately stop being distinctions. They become the background noise. In 2026, answering your customers' common questions professionally and plainly, it's not the distinctive strategy that it once was. And worst of all, it's turning into camouflage. It will make you invisible. Which brings us to the quiet collapse of what I'd call the monolith story in brand strategy for B2B. So for decades, B2B brands were built like monuments for our ability to explain the change we want to effect in the customer's business. One massive, rigid structure broadcasting a single, consistent message, sometimes we'd call it a story, to the market. Different personas might hear slightly different versions, different adjectives, different buzzwords, but it was basically the same core story echoing everywhere. You've heard the justifications: sales and marketing alignment, go-to-market, GTM alignment, messaging strategy, all sanctified by the PowerPoint and that brand architecture document that sits on SharePoint that nobody reads. And the monolith's greatest virtue is consistency. It rejects contradiction. It sands down distinctiveness. It's built on the belief that if you just proclaim, we have a unique value proposition loudly enough from the center of the market, gravity will do the rest. But in an age of infinite synthetic noise, the monolith doesn't just struggle, it fails. And yet, many B2B brands remain trapped there. Research shows the overwhelming majority of B2B marketers feel stuck in a sea of sameness. But the prescribed cures for that sea of sameness, they never seem to change. Develop a better value proposition, invest in thought leadership, differentiate through your customer service or loyalty, and nothing moves. Nothing moves. So why does nothing move? Well, I'm noticing two forces that keep B2B brands frozen. So the first is fear. Fear of exclusion. One CMO told me very candidly, everybody says they want differentiation until it threatens their place in a Gartner box. So we optimize now for recognition instead of resonance. We sound just close enough to everybody else to survive the RFP. The second force, it's a little more subtle. In mature categories, there's usually a shared belief about the right answer, the correct answer. Let's be honest, there probably is a right answer in our B2B category, right? The industry agrees on what good looks like. We might be faster, we might be cheaper, we might be more efficient, we might be more reliable, but it means that brands aren't fighting over the future of ideas, they're fighting over packaging, wrapping the same beige answer in slightly different paper. Add generative AI to that mix, and the pull towards safety is now, well, it's executed at scale. Entire organizations can produce perfectly acceptable and perfectly forgettable marketing with breathtaking efficiency. So what's the alternative? I think the alternative is a way out and something I call the plural brand. So a plural brand isn't one story told with different buzzwords. No, it's a structure that allows multiple stories to coexist to different communities. It has a fixed center, the non-negotiable integrity of the business, a singular, if you will, but it gives teams and communities permission to express that integrity in ways that are specific, opinionated, and sometimes uncomfortable for the audiences that may be around it. You see, the monolith optimizes for message consistency across everywhere. The plural brand optimizes for integrity of character within the communities. And the first attribute of a plural brand is what I call the weirdness imperative. Here's the truth right now. We need differentiation when we think about it. It's a dangerous word these days. Leadership teams want proof, right? We want proof that we're better, faster, cheaper, more efficient, but they're also terrified of saying anything that truly sets them apart, makes them distinctive. So what do? We compromise. A new logo color, slightly tweaked tagline, a white paper proving we're 15% faster with a customer story, awards for customer service, rational arguments stacked neatly together, hoping the market will rationally select us. In 2026, that's fighting the wrong war. Everybody is 15% faster now. Everybody is award-winning. Everybody has proof points. Those claims have lost their currency. What actually drives choice isn't marginal utility, it's salience, being remembered specifically when a decision is about to be made. Which is why the answer isn't better differentiation, it's leaning into distinctiveness, leaning into the weird. And I know that sounds unserious, I get it. But weirdness isn't necessarily about being random. It's about investing in distinctive assets, symbols, rituals, characters that aren't logically necessary for your product or service, but are emotionally sticky. They're hard to copy because they're arbitrary. Meaning still matters, but meaning travels so poorly in saturated markets like this, distinctiveness travels much faster. Think about the McRib for a second, right? Logically, the McRib is a disaster. There's no rib meat. I mean, is it even meat? But it appears and disappears for no clear reason every single year and comes back based on scarcity that's totally manufactured. And yet it still inspires devotion. Why? Because it's got a weird name, a shape, and a ritual that nobody else can own. Weirdness works in B2B too. The company PostHog built a brand around a surreal hedgehog mascot while also publishing deeply technical and no-nonsense content for engineers. The B2B2C brand Oatly paired playful, culture-forward storytelling to consumers with serious credibility for baristas, turning those professionals into advocates. That's the weird mode. AI can't be weird on purpose. It's a prediction engine. Weirdness is inefficient by definition. It breaks patterns. And in an AI-flattened world, that can become a proof of humanity token. Imagine a cloud compliance firm for a second. The monolith says blue palettes, gray, stock photos, language about regulatory optimization and safety and security, and the plural brand says, people are bored. That young fintech buyer might remember the pink brand with the raccoon mascot, but the 47th blue one that they saw this week. Here's the takeaway. You don't need a safer strategy in 2026. You need secret codes, Easter eggs, secret handshakes that speak directly to the community you're trying to speak to. Differentiation lives in the product. Of course it does. Distinctiveness lives in the brand. Stay tuned next week when I get into how we might start to move from community to community and stitching them together the right way to start creating our plural brand approach. In the meantime, remember, the plural brand gives you permission to hold both of those things without pretending they're the same thing. It's your story. Find the weird and tell it well, and I'll see you next week.